Hey folks, this was an unexpected video for me to be making. Today we're going to be taking a look at this case I found. Those of you who have known me for a long time and have seen my old computer builds might recognize this case. This is a Master Cavalier CAV-T03. I believe some of you asked me what this was in comments and I couldn't remember off the top of my head. I think I answered it in one comment, but I didn't manage to get the rest. But this is a Master case that my first ever custom build was in. Not this exact case, but the same model. This case I found on eBay the other day thanks to some help from some people in the Discord, which you should definitely check out down below, because a lot of us poke around on the internet and find cool stuff like this. So yeah, just thought I'd plug that, because that's how I found out about this case in the first place. So thank you to whoever posted that link. You're the best. You've brought me back in touch with 2005. So here's the deal. This was an eBay listing. It was a bid. I won the minimum bid because nobody wanted to pay the shipping. It was like $10 plus $60-something shipping, which is pretty steep. But when am I ever going to see one of these again? When? So that's the reason I got it. Plus, it's actually better than another case I have, and I'm going to replace that case with this one, because this is built back when cases were real cases. Hey, it has a front door on it. It's pretty nice. So, what did this thing all come with? It said in the listing that it was partially built. It came with an Antec 500-watt smart power supply, an ECS Elite Group Pentium 4 based 775 motherboard, socket 775 motherboard, 512 megs of RAM, an NVIDIA GeForce 3 Ti 200 video card, and I think a modem as well. And this one happened to come with a 300 gig Seagate 7200.9, which was actually flapping in the breeze inside the case during shipping, and it still works. Seagate's IDE drives during that time were just indestructible. It's amazing. So, yeah, that's what it came with. So, when I first got the system, I thought I'd test it just to see what's in it. You know, this is how I prepare myself for these videos. I check out the machine just so I have something to talk about, right? So, I turned it on. I hear some sizzling coming out of the machine, and it sounds like it could either be electronics issues or a fan. I really wasn't sure which, but it was just that kind of like hiss, you know. And so I look in the back of the case and I go, oh crap. there is smoke coming right out of the power supply. So I promptly removed that power supply, which is this one. This is an Antec Smart Power model SP500. This power supply had smoke coming right out of the back fan here, and so I quickly shut the machine off before it did anything destructive, I guess. And it's a shame, because this thing had two fans, it was modular and everything, but unfortunately Antec power supplies from around this time in the mid-2000s had some problems with capacitors and unreliability and stuff like that. I have another in this range. I have an Antec True Power 2.0 550 watt power supply, which is part of that sort of series that had problems. Mine somehow survived. This one clearly didn't. So yeah, I'm not blaming the seller for that, because they were basically just selling it as parts. But when you get this, make sure that you're prepared for some fireworks sometimes on some of these computers. This is the first fireworks on a computer I've had in a long time, and coincidentally the first time I had fireworks on a computer, which was with the power supply one of these came with, coincidentally it was in this case. So, and it wasn't an Antec, it was some random brand. I'll show pictures here of my original build that I happen to have, and you'll see that the build I had around that time wasn't unusual, but the power supply looks pretty janky and yuck. So later on that was replaced with that Antec True Power 2.0, which still lives to this day despite having the crap caps in it. I did open this power supply up to see if I could pinpoint where the smoke came from, and I saw nothing. So I'm going to guess a capacitor vented itself, and that's what came out of the back of the supply there. It smelled pretty horrible. It smelled like... It didn't smell like fish. It smelled like this just really musty yuck smell. Like, it'd take the smell of a capacitor and, like, add a burning smell to it. It didn't smell like burning electronics. It smelled like a capacitor to me. So that's what I'm guessing it was. Probably not worth recapping that, to be honest, since you can just buy new power supplies for like $60 that are fine. So, not really worried about that. I replaced it with an ACBell 550 watt power supply I had lying around, and that one definitely works. It didn't kill the motherboard, didn't kill anything. So I can at least show you it working. In fact, it works very well. Here's what we have inside of here. Let me get some light on this situation. Alright. So here we go. Stock cooler on a Pentium 4. It's a 3.2 gigahertz 32-bit Pentium 4. It's not 64-bit capable. You have your... This board is hybrid. It has both DDR2 and DDR1 slots. Currently has DDR2 533 in it. There's the 512 megs there, which are... it's PNY RAM. That's what it is. Below that is the PNY GeForce 3 Ti 200. And below that is a modem. And there's your Seagate hard drive. So, and there's the ACBell I put in there temporarily just to make it work. This thing has been well used over the years. They put this fan in backwards, so it blows in instead of out, so that obviously needs to be fixed. And that's a Dynex fan, so they've been to Best Buy. The computer works fine, no problems. It's not flaky in the slightest. Works great, actually. So it would make a decent mid-2000s build. But I really bought this for the case. So after I make this video, I'm probably going to take the guts out of this case and put some different ones in. A socket 1156 build that I have, and another case that I don't like as much. So I'm sure that's another video we'll make at some point, just to show you what's in there, because I think that one's changed since I last showed it to you. I'm not sure, but we'll show what I do at this case once I you know, swap the guts around. So in the front door we have several things. We have 2 optical drives and a floppy drive. I don't know what kind of floppy drive this is, but it's black, so it's fairly new. A combo DVD-ROM drive. Yes, that is the name of the brand, Combo. I've never seen one of these before. Here's a Memorex, which is obviously a rebadge something else, but this is a good burner. It's dual layer capable, so that's kind of useful. So that's definitely a keeper. This one, I mean, they both work, so I don't see the reason to remove them other than the fact that they're IDE. So yeah, there is that. So I don't know. This will probably have dual optical drives in it just because I'm not going to have the faceplate. I know the Flying Scotsman will approve of that. So, yeah, those are mostly the peripherals. Let's show you the actual back of the board so you can see what's doing. Alright, so PS2, it's your classic PC98 layout, pretty much. PS2, serial, parallel, VGA, some USB, some Ethernet, and some audio. And down below, the video card does have DVI on it, which is nice. And there's your modem. So it's your classic 2004-2005 era build, but I would say 2005, simply because this has a socket 775 Pentium 4 in it, and that's when those were around. So what I decided to do was toy with it. It came with a copy of Windows XP on it, which was very, very pirated. So there was really nothing else to see other than that, so I ended up just wiping the machine out and sticking a vintage Linux distro on it, Ubuntu 10.04, which was old enough to run well on a Pentium 4. So I figure, why not test the waters and see what I can do with an old version of Ubuntu. And I could do a lot more than I thought. And of course, to prove that, we'll turn the computer on and take a look at what I've done to it. Let's enter the setup just to show you what that looks like. It is your classic AMI BIOS. Looks just like a lot of the Gigabyte boards I was using back in the mid and late 2000s. So, typical stuff there. See if you can see the specs running past it there. It might not show the specs again. I don't know what it's doing right now. Oh, there we go, it's booting. This is Ubuntu 10.04 from 8 years ago. There you go. This is going to bring back some memories from you guys. Yeah, this is the old background I used to use and everything. And I've got the GNOME 2 set up here. I even have the eyes. So I've set it up just the way I used to use it. I found that Ubuntu has these repos for the older distros called oldreleases.ubuntu.com, I think. And you can put those repos in here and download a lot of the old software, which is nice. So I've installed quite a lot on here. So I was able to do a hell of a lot with very little at this computer. I could edit photos on here with GIMP 2.6. This is off an IDE hard drive and 512 megs of RAM, mind you, too. And there you go, GIMP. And there you go, I can start making artwork. Yay. Terrible artwork. But this can do a lot, surprisingly. I was able to connect to a Mumble server on this ancient version of Mumble, which it isn't too many versions behind, actually. I was able to connect to a server and talk to people on it, on an 8-year-old Linux distro. That's incredible to me. Absolutely incredible. A lot of my old programs are in here. I'm sure a lot of you remember these. Chromium was around back then. FileZilla, GFTP, Midori, Pigeon, SeaMonkey, Thunderbird, XChat, a lot of them. Ton of this stuff. Remember when OpenOffice was the default in Ubuntu? Yeah. Minitube is still around back then. Mix, OpenShot, Kdenlive, bunch of stuff. You can do a lot with an old distro, I've found, so that's really cool. And the best part about this is that the guy screams in robots. Yeah! So, it's been fun checking out an old computer. I used to run Ubuntu 10.04 on the board I had in a case like this back in the day, only it was AMD socket 939 rather than a Pentium 4. But it fits the era. Obviously, the socket 939 system was a lot better than this thing was. VirtualBox is still around. This is the open source version, however. What else can we look at? Oh yeah, the specs of the machine would probably be good, right? This old version of Linux is barely using any RAM. Look at that. It's just using nothing. If you open a web browser, though, it starts to use a lot of swaps. So, not the most capable thing in the world. As you can see, the Pentium 4 is indeed hyper-threaded. You've got your 2 cores there, well, your 2 logical cores. Here's your system. Ubuntu 10.04, Lucid Links, kernel 2.6.32. That's nostalgic right there, man. Pentium 4, 3.2 gigahertz, and the disk space has been used. I've used a whole lot of disk space on here. Used about 15%, like 40 gigs of it, so yeah, there you have it. Now, the interesting about this motherboard that came in this thing is it's VIA-based, and that reminds me of a workstation I used to have at a really horrible job I used to have. I basically cobbled together my own workstation out of a bunch of random parts. Look how much VIA stuff is on this board. That's incredible, man. Look how much VIA. It even uses via Ethernet, which is crazy. The modem is Connexent. And the video card is, of course, NVIDIA. So, you know, there you have it. That GeForce 3 is not a very good graphics card. NeverPut runs at like 1 second per frame, I think. Look at that. That's pretty terrible. That video card wasn't very good when it was new anyway. The GeForce 3 might as well have just been a GeForce 2. It was worth just waiting for the GeForce 4 back in those days. But yeah, that's really all there is to show about this machine. This is just it. It arrived, I played with it, and I got an old Linux distro to come back to life on it, which to me was nostalgic and a lot of fun. So there you have it. I got one of these Cooler Master Cavalier CAV-T03 cases back again. So we're going to do a few things with this case. Basically put newer guts in it and build it up to be a nice machine again. So there you have it. We will continue that in another video, but I thought I would introduce this thing to you because for those of you who've been long-time subscribers, you might remember this, and for me it's just absolutely wonderful to see this case again. Brings 2005 and 2006 right back. Playing a lot of Counter-Strike, a lot of Halo, Custom Edition. Just good times, man. Early high school years. Those were fun. So, well, that is it for this video. There is more to come in the future, as always. More with this case, a vintage laptop, and a few other things that we're going to take a look at. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good one, everybody. Ciao.